Cabal here. It's August 2020, and we just had development update livestream from Ashes of Creation's very own Terrible Trio. Creative Director Stephen Sharif, Community Marketing Lead Margaret Crone, and finally Lead Game Designer and possibly the most well-hydrated man in the studio, Jeff Bard. So if you missed the livestream or want a quicker rundown of the topics, sit back, relax, and grab your lantern, because we're delving into the depths of the Ashes of Creation August update. So as some of you may or may not know, Intrepid Studios is hiring, with over 24 open positions. Currently, as of the August update, 16 of the 24 have been filled. For those of you who might be interested, but weren't able to make the cut, or just now hearing about it, they have stated that additional rounds of hiring will occur as the studio continues to expand and develop. With the ongoing corona pandemic, the studio is still choosing to work from home for the safety of the employees, but have stated that Alpha 1 is still on schedule for before the end of the year. With that being said, to not interfere with the release of Alpha 1, the move to a new physical studio location is being delayed until after the end of the year. As some of you may or may not have heard, Intrepid Studios is self-publishing. This is a move that many members of the community and people who have been keeping a close eye on the game in the studio are hailing as a great choice and are looking forward to. As they are self-publishing, the company is currently looking for people to fill positions in the Amsterdam area to handle things on the other side of the pond. So if you have any EU friends who would like to, or you think might be interested in working on Ashes of Creation, make sure to let them know. And for the final bit of the studio update, the studio has switched from Unreal Engine 4 version 4.23 to version 4.25. Steven did note that it had introduced some bugs, but they are aware of them, and the studio is in the process of busting out the big shoes and stomping them out. Next, we move on to the section that I think a lot of you are anticipating, the design update. In this part of the live stream, we got to look at a video and have some experience with the hybrid combat system. The video was prefaced with that the art, UI, and even the effects in the video are noted as an initial pass and subject to change as the studio receives feedback, further tests, and refines it throughout the upcoming alpha and beta. Honestly, I think it already looks good, so I'm looking forward to seeing how they up the ante as time moves along. We got to look at skills and have a quick breakdown of the three sections: passive, active, and weapon, where players will have the freedom to allocate their skill points to suit their playstyle. Passive skills were noted as such things as the usage of weapons, the usage of armor, passive states, and health regeneration. While at the moment, it's not completely clear what some of those things are, just from the sound of it, I'm excited to see how it's handled. Next, we move on to active skills, where players can allocate points into a skill to increase, add, or even change a skill's effects, including changing it from a tab target skill to an action combat skill. And finally, weapon skills. Weapon skills were noted as being involved in procs for weapons, determined by their weapon group. These procs were noted as synergizing with active skills. The example given were daggers that would cause a bleed, which I'm assuming would cause a damage over time, but in addition, if the active skill backstab is used on a target that has a bleeding proc on it, it would cause backstab to cause additional damage. Next up, we had a demonstration of how easy it was to switch between tab target and action combat, which should, in theory, allow for a smooth transition and make the combat not feel too disruptive when you switch between the different types of abilities. It was demonstrated that all weapons, when using the action combat attack, have a frontal arc, and the type of weapon will determine the size. For example, pole arms are going to be used at a greater distance than, say, daggers. One thing to note, for those who are worried about the hybrid system, if the hybrid action tab system does prove to be problematic or unfeasible, it was stated in the live stream that they would lean more heavily towards the more traditional tab targeting system while incorporating template style attacks to represent more skill-oriented combat. It was said that there is a focus on combat flowing well, being satisfying, and overall just feeling good, as it is the main way in which players will interface with the game, a reason why the team is so heavily focused on receiving feedback and being transparent about the system. The livestream continued on to the topic of hotbars. Hotbars and the amount of skill a player uses is planned to be heavily dependent on the players themselves, to further enforce the concept of player agency. Allowing a player to go wide and diversify by spending their skill points on several skills, or deciding that they want to specialize, sinking skill points into but a few skills and combos. While the team has stated that they do not plan to allow add-ons, in the live stream they did say that the UI system will be extremely robust and highly customizable. Hopefully, this will negate the need for any add-ons. The next topic that they touched on were castles and castle sieges. We got yet another video, and confirmation from the studio's very own Toast on what sounds giant lizards make.
Well, me.
It was noted that the castle in the video is currently what is in place for alpha testing purposes and is gauged to be roughly a quarter of the size a castle will be at launch. Castles at launch will be featuring even more rooms, corridors, gates, and nooks and crannies for players and monsters to hide and ambush each other in. It was stated that all castles will initially start out controlled by NPCs and monsters, and during non-siege times, unowned castles will be accessible to players to come fight mobs, raid, and maybe even get loot in. Speaking of sieges, it was noted that the week before a siege starts is when registration will open for guilds to register for the siege. It was said that a siege will last for a duration of 2 hours. Personally, I think that's just enough time for a good experience to feel like you've really fended off your holdings, but not so long that you're going to interrupt your sleep schedule if you are sieged. As for the initial conquering of a castle, guilds can sign up to attack a castle and will have to battle their way through the elite monsters inhabiting it, opposing guilds also seeking to claim ownership of it, capture waypoints, complete objectives, and finally, defeating a raid boss, with the highest contributing guild to boss damage winning ownership. Even with unowned castles that will normally be open during non-siege times, once a siege begins, the gates will close and it will go into lockdown, with players having to break their way in via siege weaponry. A little note was that after claiming ownership of a castle, it will be possible for guilds to hire NPC mercenaries to help them defend it. Hopefully this will allow even small but elite guilds to stand up against guilds with larger numbers. And on the topic of castle ownership, it was said that each week a castle is owned, the nodes under the influence of the castle will generate an NPC caravan that will start to make its way to deliver the collected taxes to the lord or lady of the castle. While for the owning guild this does mean payday, it also means that enterprising bandits or rival guilds will be able to rob these caravans, stealing the profits and weakening the defenses of the castle for possible future assaults. It was said that citizens of the node that fall under the rulership of the castle will not be able to participate in the attack of the caravan, as they gain benefits the longer the castle is held by its rulers, and will automatically be flagged as defenders of the caravan. This will go on once a week for 3 weeks, with the week after, the 4th week, being the time of when a siege can happen, giving us a month-long cycle in which a guild can hold a castle. It was said that the longer a guild holds a castle, the more rewards that will continue to pour in. And some of the benefits of claiming rulership of a castle were noted as being the ability to levy taxes, granting benefits to players that fall under the reign of the castle's rule, more likely in the shape of buffs. And lastly but not least, the longer a guild holds a castle, the more the nodes around it will continue to build up. As for a detailed explanation to the effects that these will have, we currently don't know, but it's exciting to hear, and it's nice to know what the plan is. And that's all we have for the design update. Next up, we had Environmental Art update. where we got a good look at the architectural style for how some of the Dune Air cities are going to look, and also it was touched on how cities will generate. First off, we have a Dune Air city gate. This is supposed to give us a feel for the architectural design for a Stage 5 Dune Air city. After that, we got to see some Dune Air torches, representing what we will see throughout the various different stages, and we also got the same treatment for some Dune Air braziers. We got to see some other Dune Air styled furniture, and the team also told us that there's a focus on detail of the environments and making the cities feel like a city, allowing a player to become a part of the world. I'm really liking their approach to wanting to increase immersion, and I'm looking forward to seeing how it actually pans out in the game. Speaking of immersion, we had the little tidbit dropped on us that cities will to an extent be procedurally generated, so no two cities should look alike. This apparently is even going to extend to when a city shifts through the various different stages. After that, we got to look at some character art. To start us off, we got a cool little video of a mount available to those who bought into the game early called the Shell of the Ancients. I don't know about you, but the Galaxy Turtle is looking pretty awesome. We also got to see some Valoon leather armor, some Kalar robes that had previously been previewed, but are now complete with textures, a very mean looking tower shield called the Aegis of Vigilance, and a look at both male and female Dune Air in the same equipment and how it will look on the two different models of the race. The team closed out with a quick Q&A, and then Margaret gave us a sneak preview of what we can expect to come down the pipe for next month's dev development update, with its topic being focused around immersion. So I really hope you enjoyed that video. I'm personally really looking forward to Ashes of Creation, and I'll be excited to see how it turns out. If you want more information, you can always go to the Ashes of Creation wiki, their website, or you can talk to myself or other members of the community on the Reddit or the Discord, links for which will be in the description box below. I'm Cabal, and as always folks, stay safe out there, and I hope you have a great day.